Okay, the recording's been started. Um, Welcome, my name is RT Brown. I'm with the Brattleboro Development Credit Corporation. It is January 21st of 2021. This is our 19th session of the BDCC Business Resiliency webinar series. I'm just covering some housekeeping here. You had to register today. This is a new requirement that we've put in place for the series. So if you're interested in attending any more of these, you won't have to register a second time. You're just registering for the series. But the best practices these days for security reasons, excuse me, is that we ask that folks go ahead and pre-register for a session. Today's session is we have a panel. Adam Grenold, the BDCC's executive director, is going to kick things off here in just a minute when I'm finished covering the housekeeping items. I know we have at least one federal delegation staffer. I think Erica Campbell is with us, so we like to get updates from our federal delegation representatives about any updates that they might be able to share. And then we're going to go into a panel discussion, which includes two businesses and some lenders to talk about, COVID mitigation resources and other resources that are available to folks in the region, as well as other what we call technical assistance resources in the region. So we have a lot to cover. That's my point. And I want to make sure we cover all of the topics. So I'm going to kick it over to Adam at this point.
Great. Thanks, RT.
Sure.
It's great to see everybody here today. Before RT introduces the panel, I did want to just take a moment to sort of frame our intentions for today's event. We know nationally that here in Vermont, the BIPOC and disadvantaged entrepreneur communities are really underserved with technical assistance and access to capital. We know that these communities were underserved in the PPP program and that it took longer to connect with the Vermont grant programs that were out there. So today's webinar really is an opportunity to recognize the deficiencies that we have, and is a very small step, at least for us and the participants today, to start to establish change in regards to that. In Vermont, we're really lucky to have such easy access to lending institutions, their decision makers, as well as numerous service providers, of which we have a few here with us today. Some have speaking roles, others are just going to be participating. We just didn't have enough room in the day to fit everybody in, but they're out there and they're really eager to form new relationships. So what we want to do today is make sure that you leave here with the knowledge that those folks exist. In the chat, you're going to be seeing some links to resources so that you can get specific introductions. We here as a group will be happy to make introductions. So if there's anyone out there who doesn't have that relationship, please be sure to follow up with the folks here today and others. Today we also want to really enlist more partners in helping the BDCC in the region recognize the systemic challenges that the BIPOC and disadvantaged community members face in accessing capital and technical assistance. We know that in Vermont, our minority population has a higher rate of business startups in actualization. I heard Curtis, who's here today, hi Curtis, mention that in 2012, 14% of Vermonters who are white and 18 and over started a business with employees. So that's called actualization of the business. Whereas 23% of people of color in that same year performed actualization hire of employees. So we know that this is an opportunity. We know that this is a place to lean into and have good results. And yet we haven't done such a good job. So, we know BDCC has failed to adequately recognize the impacts that this systemic racism has on the disadvantaged entrepreneurs accessing capital. I, for one, am ashamed of my ignorance and passive participation in perpetuating that cycle over time. And fortunately for me and for others, there's been a bit of awakening. The events of this past summer really increased the awareness of the Black Lives Movement, what it represents, and allows many to stop and reassess their understanding and their knowledge. So here at the BDCC, we've been taking some very intentional and facilitated steps to learn more and to change our operations and how we go about this. Individually, we're all at different stages of this journey. We're reading, we're exploring, we're learning about our ignorance, our privilege, and sometimes using and learning words that we're not used to using, or phrases, sometimes anxious that we're going to misuse them somehow. So one of the things we really want to do today is also ask for your continuing partnership and support as we take these steps to change and improve. Our belief is that through this action, we as a team and as individuals will allow our change to happen. We'll make that change happen. And we look forward to that. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to you, RT, our head instigator, to facilitate the rest of the meeting.
All right, thank you, Adam, for that. Okay, I am just doing a quick scroll through the participants. I see, as I mentioned earlier, Erica Campbell. Where are you? I don't know if you're able to unmute, but
Hey there.
okay. So I just want to set the stage a little bit here. 2 weeks ago was January 7th, and it was the day after the events on the Capitol, the insurrection. And today, 2 weeks later, it's the day after an inauguration. So, you know, it was real, you know, coming into this, that weighed on me, that I was reflecting on that. And I expect that it'll be quite a different delivery from you today, Erica. So welcome.
Thanks so much, RT. Yeah, I sometimes attend these small business meetings and give federal updates. I didn't know if I would be doing that today, so I don't really have anything prepared. Okay. But I am really glad to see this session being held. I think I was just even on a recent call with Curtis Reed, and talking about how regions around Vermont can do a better job at supporting BIPOC-owned businesses and BIPOC-led nonprofits, and just really thinking about equity a lot more in our communities. And just so wonderful that you guys are doing this as a start. So much work to do. I feel so uplifted from yesterday, and I feel like a lot of weight is off my shoulders, and some hope for the country with a historic event yesterday with Vice President Harris and Amanda Gordon's poem. It's just incredible. I think today the focus, it sounds like, is on sort of new opportunities and getting information out about different programs. I imagine there's going to be a little bit talk about the new resources available. As RT said in the beginning, the first PPP, I think, it went out to a lot of the larger of the quote unquote small businesses across the country. And so many businesses were left out. In a second subsequent round in the summer, they tried to do some set-asides for types of organizations that do a little bit better job getting out to minority and women-owned businesses. I think that made some impact, but I think there's a lot more we have to do to get the word out about these programs, and also make sure that they're accessible and helpful. Because I know a lot of really small businesses weren't even able to necessarily even access the PPP in the beginning because maybe their net income was very low or something like that. So there were some improvements. RT, is somebody going into some of the details today?
Am I muted? No, okay. If we get there, can share some of the highlight differences between second draw and first draw. I think what I would like people to walk away with is understanding that they can reach out to me. I'll paste, and we can dive in deeper into individual questions if needed.
That's great. And I'm happy to, if there are, if happy to help. Like, I've been diving into the details of the PPP and some of the changes to the EIDL loan and other types of tax support and things like that. So I'm also happy to jump in with questions at any time. I also just wanted to say quickly that I work on small business issues for the senator in the state, but we also have a staff member, Beth OIT, who covers racial justice issues, and I see her brother. I think Prince OIT is related to Beth, and so and I just wanted to let you know that we have that as a resource. A wonderful person who really is focused on racial justice across the state, and also can play a role in supporting small minority-owned businesses.
Great. Thanks so much. Appreciate the updates. We do have one question from Stephanie Bonin and she labeled this as an important question. How is Senator Sanders handling his meme stardom?
Very important question.
Is this related to the mittens?
The mittens.
Okay.
The Vermont upcycled mittens. And yes, I think we had the nation, that many people across Vermont and the nation had a lot of collective chuckles, and it was very much needed humor that felt really good.
Thank you. Thanks for Stephanie for the question, and thank you, Erica. Okay, so again, I'm scrolling through the participant list looking for a couple of our panelists. So I'm going to transition now into our panel discussion. I see Nash Patel. I'm going to see if Nash can unmute and say hello, just to technically test that. Nash, are you able to hear me and say?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, awesome.
Getting on, but we're here.
Okay, you sound good and we can see you. Great. I'm looking for our other panelists. Jules, I don't see her. Sorry, I'm scrolling. Okay, so what we have here is a business based in Brattleboro. It's Dosa Kitchen. It's an Indian focused cuisine. I'm gonna let Nash explain more about his cuisine type. And also invited was another food provider, Jamaican Jules. I don't see her, so I'm inclined to just keep going anyway. But in addition to Dosa Kitchen, we have Marie Dussault of the Vermont Economic Development Authority, or VEDA. We have Bob Davis and Peter Carville from Brattleboro Savings and Loan. And we have, I thought I saw his name. Yeah, there we go, Mario Hernandez from People's United Bank, who serves our region. So this discussion is really around, Adam mentioned access to capital, as well as what are some of the technical assistance resources within the region. And I thought it would be useful to start with a business and try to understand what I always love to ask a business is about the creations, what I would call the creation story. So how the business came to be, but then if you wouldn't mind sharing, what were some of the resources that you leaned to? Who were those resources to help get started? I know I didn't work with you, so maybe it was just personal experience or friends and family. I'm not sure. Again, I'm eager to learn that. And then in terms of funding the startup, what was your journey when you started to access, every startup needs money. So sometimes it's bootstrapped, sometimes it's lending, sometimes it's friends and family. So I'd love to understand how you went about funding the operation to start. So if you don't mind, I'm going to put you on the spot now and turn it over to you.
All right, thank you. So Nash is, I usually start doing the talking. I'm Lita Scheintaub. We're partners. We're married and partners in business. It takes him a little while to get warmed up. So we're both shy. He's shyer. So how long would you want us to talk about this in this?
Let's keep it to like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. But great. Thank you for asking. Yeah. So go.
So we moved here from New York in 2009, and we're both food type people. I'm a cookbook author, recipe developer, cookbook editor, things like that. And Nash he's always worked front of house in restaurants, or always did. And but he learned how to cook from his mom. He grew up in South India, in Hyderabad, and so he kind of has it in his blood. So when we moved here, we thought, like, there's not a lot of jobs. People are really creative here and self-starters. So I thought, why don't we see if we can get a stand at the Brattleboro Winter Farmers Market, because we moved in November. So we started there in 2009, and we called it Pepper Water, and it's South Indian food. People didn't know what that meant, but it's an Anglo-Indian soup stew kind of dish. Nash is Anglo-Indian, so mix of Indian and English. So we did that for a little while. He got a job at Against the Grain for a few years, regular job. And then he wanted to move on from that. And we had this idea of starting a dosa batter company. So dosa is the basis of our cuisine. It's a fermented rice and lentil crepe or pancake that is wildly popular in South India and other parts, everywhere in India. It's a breakfast food. They're really big and delicious. So I had this idea that we could do something with dosa, because people, when they tried it, they loved it. So we took our idea to make the batter and sell it to Deborah Boudreau from the SBDC. And we did some numbers with her, and we realized we'd have to start a whole factory to really get any gains from it. So she said, why don't you do a food truck? And I've been thinking about that too. And Nash he wasn't sure, but we talked about it more, and we thought that's a great idea. We had enough savings to buy the food truck as a trailer, so pretty simple setup. And we set up down the alley in Brattleboro off of Main Street in the Booker Dunham area. And we did that for a couple of years. Then we moved over to the Retreat Farm. They invited us to go there. So, and we got more and more popular as time went on, as people were exposed to it. We found like it was hard for people to warm up to a new cuisine, but eventually people did. And we wrote a cookbook that was published in 2018. Random House published it, and that brought a lot of people over. The VPR did an interview with us, and it was like everyone in Vermont heard it. I love that about Vermont, that it's so small that you really have a connection. So, and then we decided to open a restaurant in February of 2020, February 1st. So we did it because it was a really good situation, some shared space, the kitchen was already there. We didn't need any funding because it was a minimal investment. And so, did you want to say something?
Yeah. So you develop recipes, you've written cookbooks, but so from a business perspective, like how did you go from that to actually, starting a business? You've got to register with the Secretary of State. Did you just research that stuff on your own?
Deborah really.
Oh, you worked with Deborah
every step of the way.
Yeah.
She gave us names of experts, accountant that she used, who let us in, gave us a spot, which was hard to get. All the different things, who to contact at the health department. She made it really doable. And I mean, we came from New York where it's so much bigger and it's harder to do things, and you can't get your kitchen certified, your home kitchen certified.
Right.
So we felt like we got a lot of assistance. We got what we needed. She
Great.
was a really great coach. And we didn't need the capital because it was such a small
So you
amount.
bootstrapped, you funded the start
Yeah.
of it on your own.
And I always had my other work, so it was never like only dependent on that, which is a great situation.
Wonderful.
Startup.
Okay.
And then, so the restaurant, we were open for 6 weeks before the pandemic caused us to close.
Right.
But we've been doing okay with Everyone Eats. Well, first there were a lot of tourists over the summer because our numbers are low and it's Vermont. So we were doing okay. We didn't want to have staff because it just felt too close and unsafe. And it's really hard to have a mask on all day with the hot griddle. So if it's just us, then we didn't have to wear the mask when we weren't with public. So it was just us. We were kind of maxed out. But that as it started getting less and less busy, what we've gotten from Everyone Eats was just really crucial for keeping us going. And we decided to close the restaurant through the winter because it's just, the numbers are getting too high.
Right.
And the numbers for customers are getting less. So it just didn't seem worth it. Like looking back, I think we'll be really happy that we
made that decision. I'm sure that was a hard decision.
Yeah.
Or maybe not.
It kind of, it goes both ways, but we want to concentrate on our product line. We are making the dosa batter and we've been selling it at the restaurant and at local farms, and people are really liking it. It's gluten-free, it's dairy-free, it's vegan, it's sugar-free. It ticks off a lot of boxes and it's really delicious. And we also make waffles out of it. And so we're trying to get that going more. We got so in terms of grants, we did get one federal grant for that people were getting. We got an EIDG. We got I wrote these down, the Restart Vermont Technical Assistance Program.
Okay.
Got a grant from that. We hired Ruthless and Wellington from their branding and design firm in Burlington to do a brand strategy assessment and audience insights. And so that was really helpful for us. That's about the product line.
Okay,
so,
great.
As we're moving forward on that, we got some good information from that. Okay. And then we're going to be working with Heidi Krantz at the SBDC, more on the manufacturing side. So we're really excited to pivot to this aspect of the business.
Okay.
And we feel like we've gotten a lot of really good assistance from obviously Deborah, and we expect to from Heidi. She seems awesome. And the DBA.
Stephanie's on. So hi, Stephanie. Thanks
Stephanie.
For the work you do.
Stephanie, and then Amanda Whitman. They're really clear spoken. Like it's really, you can understand what they're saying when they're explaining difficult things and what's available. I'm on Facebook basically for that at this point, personally. So I feel between that and Deborah Boudreaux's emails, we're really well informed of what we.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm gonna pivot for just a moment, if that's okay, to the lenders on the panel. But thank you so much for that. I always love to hear how businesses get started. It's always a weaving of some of these personal life with the right time. So it's always fascinating to me. So let's start with let's just start with 2 minutes for each and understand that we'll loop back to you guys. But Marie from the Vermont Economic Development Authority, if you could introduce yourself, introduce your role, and just tell us a little bit about VITA and what are some of the activities that VITA is focusing on related to COVID mitigation resources.
Okay. VITA has been around for about 45 years. We're considered a quasi-state agency. We're the state's lending partner for businesses. What that all means is I'm not a state employee. I work for VITA. I've been at VITA 27 years yesterday. How about that? And I was a banker in my previous life. I've been around financing quite a bit. Vita has very large menu of loan programs that are available to businesses. Primarily, we focus on probably expansion and fixed asset financing, be it whether it's real estate or equipment, but we do have programs that feature for working capital needs, as well as entrepreneurial startup businesses. We do have programs on that. We have a microloan program that we work with the SBA on. We're considered what they refer to as a certified development corporation with the SBA. We have been involved with the PPP program, very involved with the PPP program since last year. We also did much of the underwriting of the ACCD grants that were available throughout the summer. Vita staff was involved in all of that, as well as with the ACCD staffing as well in processing those. Because we are a smaller lender than banks are considered, we did start accepting PPP applications last week on Monday. So we are well into our second week of processing PPP loans. If your bank or your credit union is not active in doing the PPP loans, you can come to Vita. I know last year it was very busy down in Southern Vermont, speaking to Peter, speaking to Adam. They were a lot of hands full with their own borrowers, and people were backing up. And some of these programs, as the one that's operating right now, is a first come, first serve. So you can come to Vita. We have 5 commercial lenders that can process the PPP loans. If you've already received a PPP loan, you do have to go through the lender you got it for to go through your forgiveness, but you can work with us on a second request loan.
Marie,
I'll leave it there.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it very much. And now I'm going to turn to Mario. We haven't done a mic test, so if you could just say hello for a moment to make sure.
Hello, can you hear me?
Awesome. Yes. How are you?
Good. Thank you. My name's Mario Hernandez, and I am the market manager or territory manager for southeastern Vermont. So my territory covers from Chester down to Brattleboro. So the 2 Brattleboro offices, Putney, Bellows Falls, and Chester. And I work really closely with both the Londonderry and Newfane offices as well. We are one of the larger banks that Marie just referenced, and we just started taking applications this week. We are able to help customers across the board, and we are eager to do so. The one advantage that we have is we do have some resources where I can pull somebody in from an office in Burlington if we're backed up, or we can use resources out of Montpelier or Rutland to move applications to the pipeline. So that's really great. We have a centralized process for the PPP right now. However, you can certainly walk into any branch, and the branch manager can help you. In terms of startups, we do have a commercial lender, Aaron Rich, who unfortunately wasn't able to join us today. He does do the startup side of our business, and we do partner with folks like Vita and BDCC as well as SBA to help get access to capital for those folks.
Great. Mario, thanks so much. And we have a question that I think applies to everyone. So I'm just going to, while I still have you, ask you. So Curtis asks, he was asking Marie, but I'm going to ask you, and then I'm going to loop back to Marie in a moment. But how do business owners find you, or how do you publish information about your services? What's the best way for people to contact you?
So they can contact me directly. I'm here in Bellows Falls office, but I can certainly put my email in the chat. Any one of our branches, like I said, the 2 Brattleboro branches, one on Canal Street, one on Main Street, Newfane, Putney, Bellows Falls, Chester. But for centralized communication, we certainly lean a lot on mobile and web traffic. So people.com would be the place to go. But if they need to talk to a person, or if they're not finding or getting the answers that they need online, we have 5-6 branches in the area that we can certainly help someone face-to-face.
Okay, so on that note, I have a little document that we've prepared that has your email address and everyone else. So Peter, Bob, and Marie. So if it's okay, I'll just send that out to folks.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Absolutely.
And actually, Gabriel has just posted that in the chat session. So that document covers really any of the resources that will be referenced in today's session. So Bob Davis and Peter Carville from Brattleboro Savings and Loan, if you wouldn't mind sharing a bit about yourselves, the organization, and what are the areas regarding COVID mitigation resources or other technical assistance resources that you folks might have.
So I'll let Bob chime in, but RT, thanks for inviting us to join the panel today. We appreciate it. Just let me say that my mouth has been watering ever since I heard the word crepe. Fascinating story. And I think you found out what we've all known for a long time, that Deb Boudreau is just an incredible resource and just a great coach. So kudos to her. But Bob and I both work for the commercial banking team for Brattleboro Savings and Loan. We have 2 branches in Brattleboro, one on Main Street where we both are, and then one at the Black Mountain Square up on Putney Road. We also have a really beautiful brand new office in Wilmington, and also a branch in Bonneville, which is just up the road from Stratton Mountain. So we were fully ingrained, as a lot of you know, with the Triple P round 1 bonanza last year. And you think about, it seems like it's so long ago, but BSNL did about $16 million in the span of about 2 months, which is incredible production. And we were happy to be able to support local businesses. We're once again added, as Marie said, the portal opened up to us last Friday. So in that first day, I think we did about $4 to $5 million, a lot of pent-up demand. So it'll be interesting, frankly, to see as the program has kind of evolved, what the demand will be going forward. There's been a lot of changes, and in some ways it's more flexible, in some ways the criteria is tightened up just a little bit. So do you want to?
Yeah, I was just going to add, at this point, if anyone out there is in need of PPP assistance or has questions, feel free to contact Peter or myself. We don't have a backlog at this point for entering current applications, so we should be pretty responsive if you need, your bank isn't helping you or credit union, we can help you get that processed.
Great. Excellent. Thanks so much for the overview from Marie, Mario, Bob, and Peter. I just want to make a couple of comments. So the lenders often, people think of the lenders as, that's where you go to get the funds you need, to access the capital. And that's true, but they're also great partners. And the longer that I do this work, the more I realize that. So I want folks to leave this knowing that, you have a face you have a name associated with a face and an institution. So, you have some familiarity with those folks now. So I want to encourage everyone to reach out to the lenders or any lender that's close to you, to talk to them about your plans and your goals. And if they need to refer you to a technical assistance provider, Deb's from the VTBS BDC has been referenced, they will do that if you need to, let's say, work on your business plan. The BDCC, I do a lot of that work as well. But there are times when, depending on the scale and scope of the project, I will refer folks to Deb certainly as well. We have a small revolving loan program that is meant for businesses who would have a difficult time receiving traditional financing. So that's oftentimes a startup. That can be for any number of reasons. A startup doesn't have the financial history that traditional banks might like to see, or there's a number of other reasons why folks might need to go what I would call a mission-based lender. And we work with you to get it so that your loan package is in a suitable state so that you can obtain financing, with the end goal of being able to approach a People's United Bank or BSNL Bank for your next round of capital that you might need. With our program, it also comes with something called a technical assistance grant. So should you be awarded some funds for a loan, above and beyond the loan proceeds, you would have access to some technical assistance funding to be used for something that is designed specific to making sure that the business is on a solid footing, or you have the professional development that you need to better run your business. So I think I want to pivot back to Lita and Nash. You started talking about maybe pivoting to more of a manufacturing model. Did I hear that correctly?
Yes.
Okay. You still do plan on operating the store just once things related to the pandemic open up a bit?
We are thinking about that.
Okay.
That's what we're planning on.
Yeah, planning on it.
Because that would be a great disappointment if it were otherwise.
Whatever we do, if the service component will still be part of the business, whether it's the restaurant or the food truck or just like part of the manufacturing, but we wouldn't give up the whole service.
Have you started, not to put you on the spot, but have you started to think about, manufacturing can often, lead to considerations around, different types of equipment that you might not have currently. But have you started to work through the funding considerations around that kind of pivot?
Not for like in a big way, like for next level, we'd be okay because the machinery isn't too big. It's you want to explain what goes into it?
So for manufacturing, we are thinking having 3 grinders. That's our main thing, which is going to come from India, the southern part of India.
Okay.
And, so we soak the rice, we grind it in this big grinder, and then we need a place to ferment it for 4 hours, and then
Interesting.
And then refrigeration space.
Okay.
You're looking for I don't know, like 1,800 square feet to 2,000.
I see. Okay.
A facility would be, that's the first, well, maybe not the first thing, but that's one of the crucial things.
We'll talk offline then, because the BDCC has space. We have the cotton mill camp, what I would call the cotton mill campus, and then the book press. So there's as you probably know, there's a lot of food producers in those spaces, but I'd be happy to connect with you.
Speak to the retreat farm to see if we did close the restaurant to move into a little big facility where we can even put the food truck.
Yep.
And do the manufacturing, and maybe once or twice a week we can do the food truck.
Yep. So I see a phone number, and I'm going to try to unmute the participant that has the last 4 digits of 9014. If you hit *6, you can unmute. But I'm wondering if this may be Jules, our other panelist. So if you called in, if you hit *6.
Hi, this is George from St. Johnsbury. Unfortunately, my computer's audio is busted, so I'm using my phone for audio.
Okay, thank you for joining us. You're not who I thought it might be, but that's okay.
Okay.
I can
Appreciate
say
it. Thank you.
something about Jules and us that we have in common.
Yes, please.
That is it.
You can say.
Oh, well, our new vice president is background is a combined.
I can't hear you. I don't
Oh,
know.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was muted. So our new vice president has a combined background of Nash's background and Jules's background, Jamaican and South Indian.
Oh, I did. That's fantastic. That's great. Yeah, thank you for sharing that.
So there's good food in the White House.
Yeah, yeah. We'll have to do some social media around that, I think. Okay, so I think we've been going for about 45 minutes. I think I'd like to open it up for any questions that you might have for Joseph Kitchen or any of our lenders or us here at the BDCC. I'm going to keep my eye on the chat and keep my eye on the participants box. While I do that, I'm going to go over, and this will be in this document that it's in the document that Gabriel has shared with you in the chat, but there are referenced in that document. There's a great slide deck that was published by the Agency of Commerce and Community Development that really goes over the different COVID relief funding programs at a high level. It's like a good summary document. Erica, I see your note. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us once again. And Erica's put her email address there if you need to reach Senator Sanders' office. Stephanie, did you have a question, comment? Hi.
I'm curious to see if the changes in the PPP made a difference. So did anybody get into the program that didn't get in the first round, and those changes made a difference on this call? You could just raise your hand if you did. I'm really curious.
Yeah, I'm
I think a lot of the changes, Stephanie, this is Marie. I think of a lot of the changes, and I know that the other lenders that are working with the program will know what I'm saying is that every day we get a change or something's changed, which is kind of what happened on the first program. I'm seeing more of a change if you've already had a loan the first time around, the PPP one, let's say, and they're calling, the second round is really called first draw or second draw. And I think the second draws, because this is new, maybe a little bit easier if you received a PPP 1 and now you're coming in for a PPP 2 draw. I think it's a little less. Well, it's a little less information that may need to be provided because some of that information you provided in the first round.
Yeah, I understand that, but one of the core intents of the changes was to target more of the micro small businesses, businesses run or owned, women owned, BIPOC owned. And so it's definitely going to be easier for the second draw people, but that would continue the problem that other people didn't have access to the program. So I'm hoping that those changes, because certainly our Congress is hanging their hat on, yes, we made changes to be able to open.
Yeah, I see in the chat that Curtis might have had his hand up and I missed that.
Yeah,
so,
yeah, I did.
Are you, there you've got the floor.
Okay. So for the businesses that are on the call, how long did it take to develop a relationship with a financial institution or a lender? And how difficult was that? Or how easy was that?
I already had a relationship with the bank.
Okay, before you started thinking about being in business?
Well, yes, when I first started to do business with the banks, I already had a relationship, so it wasn't as hard.
Mm-hmm.
Curtis, I haven't, Adam referenced that he was able to hear you talk about your survey. I haven't dug into that, but have you, in that, was that a result that folks are having a difficult time establishing those relationships?
Yes.
Okay. So that's a
Can I just ask for clarification on that? Is it a difficult time establishing a relationship to apply for a PPP, or just to have a banking relationship?
It's to have a banking relationship.
Okay.
Yeah, and these are largely businesses that are transitioning from the informal sector into the formal sector.
Yep.
And so they still haven't figured out, they're still doing their books on the backside of an envelope.
Yeah. That's understood. Yeah, as Adam said, and I completely agree, need to do a better job at deliberate outreach to folks to understand how to connect with those businesses that are doing their purchase, their profit and loss statements on the backside of an envelope or napkin. So I believe Jamaican Jules is here, and she's in as Julian Perkins. So I'm trying to find her. Okay, so Jules, are you able to unmute and say hello?
Can you hear me? Good afternoon, everyone.
Yes, I can hear you. Thank you.
Okay.
So what I asked Dosa Kitchen to talk about is really just take a few minutes and tell us what I like to call your creation story, like how you got started. And in that, who did you lean to understand from a business perspective, how to register your company, or even get your first loan if you needed a loan, or did you completely bootstrap? Again, I think we met at an event that I hosted in Bells Falls, but I don't remember ever having this discussion with you. So I would really love to hear it.
Are you talking to Dosa or Jamaican Jules?
I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. So this was the same question that I posed to Dosa. So you have the floor now.
Oh, good afternoon, everyone. I run the enterprise Jamaican Jules small business, big name. I got started in my community at the farmers market in Bellows Falls. And knowing ever since we've been in business 2013, I have only ever, and it's not even a business loan. I took it out as a signature loan under my own personal at my credit union, but I've never received a loan a business. I work my regular job, and whatever I earn from my job, that's what I use to start and operate my business. Lose or rise, that's where my help come from, me burning the candles both ends, and so my family as well. So that's how I started, and that's how I sustained myself over the years, by double working, burning out myself, operate my.
And how has business been for you?
COVID has changed the winds for me. In terms of this last year was the best year I've had in business thus far.
Okay. And some of that comes from the Everyone Eats program, correct?
Yes. Everyone eats. Not the PP loans, not the grants. Somewhere, somehow, I seem never to qualify. I don't know if because I'm so anxious and nervous to fill these forms out. Maybe I don't do them right, and I don't get the help that I asked for to help to fill these forms out. Because, as I said, I'm really either really nervous filling them out.
Yeah. Have you reached out to the Vermont Small Development Center?
I once did, and I got an email saying I was respond. I shouldn't be responding to these email, which I wasn't aware that I shouldn't have responded to that particular person, and that was their response, and backed away since.
Okay, so maybe just maybe some miscommunication there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll certainly follow up with you after this meeting by email to see if either we or another resource can help you navigate some of the resources. One of the key differences, as some of you folks might know, between the first round PPP and the second round PPP is that the first round didn't have a loss requirement. You didn't have to show a certain percentage loss between 2019 and 2020. In the second draw PPP, you have to be able to demonstrate, or you have to be able to provide documentation that there has been a 25% loss in one quarter of 2019 and 2020. So Jules, thanks so much for joining us. I appreciate it. And like I said, I will follow up with you to answer to see if I can help with any other specific questions you have around some of the programs.
ART.
Yes, sir. Adam?
I just a question from Prince regarding some assistance with taxes in applying for grants. So in regards to the taxes and applying for grants, the technical assistance piece. So the state of Vermont did a few programs recently we all are aware of. In the overwhelming takeaway from that was the need for technical assistance across all industries, all sectors, all levels of experience. People need assistance. So, excuse me, there'll be a couple of opportunities where there'll be some advocacy for creating technical assistance positions across the state, specific to helping small businesses. In the meantime, I would recommend Prince reaching out to Sevka, and I'll grab a email or an address and put it in the chat. They have a couple of programs depending where they do assist folks with their tax returns. So that may be helpful for the coming tax return season. But otherwise, please do be on the lookout. Reach out to RT for some grants. These meetings are regularly held meetings where if there are new grant opportunities, we'll be walking through those.
Yeah, thanks, Adam.
Yeah.
So again, I want to loop back to the document that Gabriel uploaded a few minutes ago. It's not it's not pretty. It's just a listing of really notes that we gathered before this meeting, but it's all of our contact information, the folks that participated on the panel, and also some upcoming workshops. There's the SBA workshop that's held weekly for PPP forgiveness. Tomorrow, downtown Brattleboro and the Center for Women and Enterprise and BDCC, we're hosting a coffee talk, and the URL for that is also in that document. And it's really just an opportunity for folks to talk shop around COVID resources and help each other. There's a link to an organization called this is a mouthful, the Procurement Technical Assistance Center. It's known as PTAC. And that's a resource that helps small businesses gain access to government contracts. And it's also the agency that can help women-owned businesses become certified women-owned businesses. There's a designation called a hub zone, and there's also reference in the document a workshop. I think I meant to include it. Sorry, I'm just trying to find it.
Hey, RT, while you look for that, I'm gonna quote Curtis here again.
Okay.
I was really fascinated by this quote, that of the 237 minority-owned businesses that do business with the state of Vermont through PTAC, only 23 of those are Vermont-based. So this shows again the opportunity that exists. So there's a system in place, and it's probably its own webinar that helps people connect with government contracts. And minority-owned businesses sort of get to go to the front of that line. And then if you're in a hub zone, even get to go further in front of the line. So there's a lot of advantages for that. So again, a place for us to lean in on.
Yeah, so along these lines, Adam, a couple questions have come in. I might be able to hit on them as well. So Prince asks, what's the name of the business dealing with the contracts? Okay, so the acronym is PTAC, but the long name is Procurement Technical Assistance Center. And again, it's in that document. I think Gabriel posted the link directly. They're having a webinar on something called a hub zone, and that's another designation where we had it, and I think we still have it, Adam, here in Southern Vermont, where if you're a minority-owned business, women-owned business, or if you're in a hub zone, you even get bumped higher in that queue of possible contract sinking. I'm going blank on the right word, but you know, it helps in the ranking in terms of priority as to whether or not a small business in that region would be awarded a contract. Lisa asks, is there, Curtis, I'll get there in 1 second. Is there a particular benefit to being a certified woman-owned business? So I think I just articulated that. If you are a certified woman-owned business and you are going after government contracts, in government contracts, that sounds really big, but it really could be a very small, you know, like a municipal contract. It doesn't necessarily, it's not necessarily a federal contract or anything. It can be, you know, something very local actually, but you just get, you get a higher ranking. Curtis, back to you.
Right. So our preoccupation with BIPOC businesses with state contracts is that the money for those contracts will stay in Vermont. They said 90% of the contracts go to minority-owned businesses that are in Connecticut or Massachusetts or New York. And once those dollars leave the state, rarely do they return.
Yeah.
And so if you want to promote and to and look at sort of local economic growth and prosperity, then we need to have more minority-owned businesses that are capturing state contracts, because we know that those dollars are going to go to support our employees and you know, paying our lease payments, et cetera. So those dollars, we know they're going to stay here. So that's why we're really keen on the state doing a better job at connecting with minority-owned businesses for those contract opportunities.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification. Appreciate it. Okay, George asks a question. So I'm gonna, I don't know, has anyone else been able to read that? I feel like a new round.
Yeah, I was thinking that this would be well addressed by one of our lenders, if Peter or Bob or Mario might be able to answer this. They're probably encountering a lot of these scenarios.
We've encountered this a few times, Adam. So the SBA says you don't have to include your forgiven PPP loan as part of your revenue, but other grants that you receive through the state or other agencies, you have to include those. So I guess I don't think there's any way to get around that we've found. The best thing to do is to really compare each quarter, I would say, and make sure everything is, you know, reported accurately on the day you received it. That way you're not disqualifying yourself, you know, if something wasn't reported correctly.
Right, so this round allows you some flexibility, some latitude, as Bob said, with the borrower picking whatever quarter they want in 2020 and comparing it to that corresponding quarter of the prior year in 2019. So you have some flexibility with that, and our understanding is that once again, you don't count a first PPP loan as revenue. You don't count an idle loan as revenue, but everything else you do. So it's kind of interesting.
Okay, great. Thanks for the question, George, and thanks Bob and Peter for addressing it. Mario, would you have anything to add to that? Is Mario still on?
No, I don't have anything to add specifically to that, just that to echo the fact that there is a little bit of flexibility to choose the quarter, the 19 to 2020, which does give some flexibility to, which quarter you're looking at.
Okay, great. Thank you. Well, Mario, while I have you, I see that we're past the hour mark, and I want to respect everyone's time. But if you have any closing remarks or just want to say have a great afternoon, that's fine too. But I want to give you the opportunity to wish everyone well.
I just want to say thank you for reaching out and letting us participate in the forum. I think it's great to connect with folks that definitely are underbanked. We'll seize that as a term, and I look forward to engaging with everybody and seeing how we can create some of those relationships.
Great, thanks, Mario.
And I would just like to add RT as well.
Please.
That because we do have an office we can work out of BDCC, but right now with COVID, we are all working remotely. We do have offices in other places in the state, but the best way to reach us is through our website. Actually, there's my name and the other lenders, there's a contact information there, but there's also a general inquiry that you can send in, and somebody checks those emails every day and they get assigned to somebody or answered directly.
Maria,
if you had just a general.
Is that a form on your website?
Yeah, it's just a site that says inquire.
Okay.
I think it says inquire, and you can send. And one of the things I neglected to say when I kind of gave a recap of what Vita does is generally with all the programs we have, we work directly with the banks. We're not there to compete with the banks,
right.
But you can leverage more funding for your project using a bank, and Vita comes in behind the bank as security. That said, you might want to, for a lot of the people here, maybe starting businesses or trying to expand. I think that what Julian said is we do have a program, an entrepreneurial program that is targeted for seed startup, early growth.
Great.
And you might, when you're looking at our website, kind of look at that program, our small business loan program. And under the COVID banner, there is not only the applications, but we have all current releases from the SBA coming out of Treasury on updates to the PPP programs that you can access. And to tell you the truth, I'm always going in, looking at those, printing them up as my cheat sheets when I'm not sure about something. So it's a good resource for you.
Awesome. Thanks, Maria, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Yeah, Bob and Peter, any last comments, thoughts, parting remarks?
Yeah, I don't want to get too far down in the weeds with the program RT, but I think a really important change, circling back to what we were talking about earlier, how does this second draw PPP loan differ from round one? You may or may not know, the loan calculation. So the average monthly payroll, if you fall into that 72 NAICS code, so think about restaurants, and that's actually 3.5 times the average monthly payroll figure that you use, not the 2.5 times. So that's, I think, one of the betterments, one of the improvements of the second draw loan.
Sure, Peter, on that. So if there was a business that didn't access the first round PPP loan, I think I've read that they can't jump into the second draw. So if it's a business that's within that NAICS code, are they limited to the 2.5?
Yes, unfortunately, that's true. So they're treated as truly a first draw, and it mirrors the program from last year.
Yeah.
So it has to be a second draw, the 72 NAICS code, to get the 3.5 times.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Great. Thanks for that. Appreciate it very much. And
my pleasure.
Thanks to the both of you for joining and participating in today's session. I really appreciate it. And
great to be here.
Dosa, Lita, and Nash, I want to thank you so much for sharing your story and spending some time with us this afternoon. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
And Jules, same for you. Thank you so much for jumping on. I think you might have had some technical difficulty, but I really appreciate your being persistent and staying with us. So it was great to see you. All right, folks, I'm going to bring this session to a close. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of your afternoon, and we'll be getting back together in 2 weeks. Have a great afternoon.